What makes Dynasty Fantasy Football so fun for so many people is that this is always the time of the year where in fantasy football regular redraft, nothing's going on, right? You could be scouting players, you could be watching what's happening with the stock of players, but you're not making any active moves. In Dynasty, it's different though. Dynasty, you're making moves today to upgrade your team. Well, today we're not making any easy decisions. This is not an easy decision video today. We're talking about the toughest decisions to go through in Dynasty Fantasy Football right now. Now, what I'm specifically talking about here is I'm going to talk about some assets and some players in Dynasty right now that there's just a lot of skepticism on, a lot of questions on, should I buy this player? Should I sell this player? We're deciding if we're buying these guys or selling these guys right now. And of course, this is a new channel exclusively for Dynasty, so please go down there, drop a like on this video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support if you get value from this video today. So the first asset, this is not a player, that I've seen a lot of questions on is, what do we do with the 102 in one quarterback rookie drafts this year? So the 102, you're typically, the big guys that we're talking about at the 102 in one quarterback leagues, we're talking about Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze, whichever one you prefer. Now, I've discussed both of these wide receivers very extensively, both on YouTube and on Patreon. I like both of these guys. Everybody understands that this is a very, very good wide receiver heavy draft class that we've got coming up in 2024. Now, when it comes to the 102, since this is such a strong rookie class, and we know that Marvin is going to go 101 in most one quarterback leagues as it looks right now in late March. This is the way it looks right now, just on paper right now. Now, when it comes to Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze, I want to do a quick breakdown of how I feel about them as prospects right now. So Malik Neighbors, when I plug him into my Dynasty rookie wide receiver prospect model, which I've been developing for years, and it's helped me find very, very late to mid-round sleeper guys like Jaden Reed, like Tank Dell, like Josh Downs. This is the model that I use for every wide receiver, and it's helped me get a very good hit rate on these guys. So the first thing I'm looking at here with Malik Neighbors is what was the college breakout year here? I want to see how early these guys were breaking out and how early that, they were becoming very good positive contributors on their football team. So Malik Neighbors obviously was tremendous in his college career. He was a sophomore breakout, true sophomore. That's an A grade. I'm looking for the earlier types of guys here. The earlier, the better this metric is going to be. So if you're breaking out as a true freshman, even a redshirt freshman or a sophomore, you're going to be in the A territory here. The film breakdown grade is where I'm getting very specific on film because film is very subjective, and I understand this. What I am looking for when it comes to film on specific guys is I want to see how diverse a player's route tree is. When I'm talking about wide receivers, I'm looking for how often they can go over the middle and create separation with footwork. How often are they going deep and getting big, deep plays to work out for them? How often are they coming underneath? Are they versatile in their offense? Are they running wide receiver screens? Are they running reverses? I want to see what they're looking like on film and how diverse the route tree is here. Malik Neighbors, A grade on the film breakdown. He was tremendous as a prospect. He does great things on film. And I am evaluating the film on as many wide receivers in this year's class as I can. And this is a big class to get in on right here. So if you want to watch me break down the film, come study these guys with me. Join the Patreon today where I'm doing the film breakdowns. Now, the 2023 target share, I want to get specific with these guys and see exactly what their target share was like in their last year in college. He had a 19.9% target share in 2023, which is not bad. It's a B- grade, but it's definitely not in the range of Zay Flowers last year, who basically had a third of his team's target share at Boston College. That's a good number. A B- grade in the target share. The target share is not as important, but it is a piece of the puzzle. And the NFL draft capital is also important because it determines how short or long of a leash a player is going to have at the NFL level. First rounder is going to have a much longer leash than a fifth rounder because a team could cut a fifth rounder before they even make it to August. So obviously we know that Malik Neighbors is going in the first round. Now, Rome Odunze, when I plug him in, there's more concerns here. Now, his breakout year was his junior year, technically, and I remember when I first did a Rome Odunze video a couple of weeks ago on this channel, and I got some pushback for, what I was discussing with Rome Odunze in his breakout year A lot of people said, well, his first year in college was the COVID year, so you can't count that. Listen, I get that. I understand that. That's sort of unfair, but this is just how it lined up. He did not break out until 2022 in his junior year officially. So that's a C+ grade. Not wild on that. If I'm being, honest on this one, he probably deserves a B- on this one because, as we have discussed, his breakout year is technically a little bit behind most guys because of that COVID year. The film breakdown grade was an A. There was not much that he does as far as what the diversity of his route tree was in Washington, but what he did, he exceeded at. His contested catch rate through the roof. 50-50 balls are 80-20 to him. And I do think that he has the capability of running better routes. I just think that Washington's system was not set up because I don't think Penix actually does have precision level throws 5 to 15 yards down the field. I think that he's a great deep ball thrower, and I think that Rome Odunze is a great receiver, but we didn't see him do as much as we saw Malik Neighbors do in both of their final seasons of college. And of course, we know that Rome Odunze is going to be a first-round draft pick as well in the NFL draft. Now, I've got Malik Neighbors one spot above Rome Odunze, and to be honest here, I love both of these guys. And since this is such a strong wide receiver class, this is only a pick that I would trade for if I got a legendary haul. The 102, you have the flexibility of taking not only both of these guys, you've also got the flexibility to take Caleb Williams if someone in your league views Caleb Williams as the best prospect. So I'm talking like 3 future first rounders, or a player like Breece Hall or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, and maybe a pick or 2. That's the only way that I'm selling this pick right here. I think the 102 is extremely valuable, and I would personally hold on to it so I can select one of these guys, because I think that both of these guys are going to work out where they go in most situations unless they get totally hosed by their landing spot here. Now, the next guy I want to talk about here is someone that is he is fantasy football. You know who I'm talking about before I even say this name. This guy is if there's a fantasy football Hall of Fame, Christian McCaffrey is in the fantasy football Hall of Fame. Now, Christian McCaffrey, when we're evaluating for 2024 fantasy football, and we're talking about, the possibility of like him going in the first overall pick in redraft or best ball leagues, most people are going to do that. Unless something drastic happens over the next couple of months, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the 101 in most redraft and best ball formats right now. But Dynasty is way different, of course. We're playing Dynasty, and we're wanting to maximize running backs in particular in their younger days. Typically in that rookie contract is where you want to maximize those running backs' production. And then after that rookie contract's over, you want to start thinking about selling them. Christian McCaffrey, 28 years old, heading into the season, it's difficult because it's like the age is there 100%, and you want to sell a running back like this. But let's be honest, most running backs are not Christian McCaffrey. This is something that I discussed on an earlier video, literally a couple weeks ago on this channel. Christian McCaffrey is right now in the top 8 of my Dynasty running back rankings. Why is that? Christian McCaffrey, when I look at him, and let's look at some of the guys I have behind him. So I've got guys like Travis Etienne behind him, Kenneth Walker behind him, Isaiah Pacheco behind him, Rachaad White behind him. Now, with all of those guys, they've all done very good. They've had very good moments in fantasy. Like Rachaad White had a breakout year last year. Travis Etienne was very dominant for the most part of the season. Pacheco, top 12 running back. Like, all of these guys have had great moments and great seasons in fantasy football. But this is the same thing I talk about with Tyreek Hill, which is, would you rather have 2 more elite seasons with an elite player that can give you 22, 21, 24 fantasy points per game? Or would you rather get a guy who's a couple years younger with those guys I'm talking about, 24, 25 years old, but all you have is the possibility that they'll ever reach that production that Christian McCaffrey could give you? And we know he'll give unless he gets injured. For me, I'd rather just take what I can get from Christian McCaffrey. Because you know what it's going to be. It's going to be elite if he continues to stay healthy. San Francisco's offense is built perfectly for him. So for me personally, Christian McCaffrey's a buy. I think that if someone in your league is looking to maximize the value, there's obviously enough there for you to negotiate and say, well, he's older, so I probably won't get more than a year or two left out of him. And I don't think that you'd have to pay more than, 2 first rounders for a guy like Christian McCaffrey in a Dynasty League. And again, if they're your first rounders, bank on yourself with Christian McCaffrey. Because for 2 straight years, you may be getting the 110 or the 112 in your draft. And that pick may basically be an early second rounder for that player that you're trading him to. So Christian McCaffrey, to me, he's a solid buy in Dynasty right now because I would just rather take a guy like Christian McCaffrey and what we know he can and will produce if he is healthy over guys like Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Rachaad White, Isaiah Pacheco, who are still good Dynasty backs, but we will likely never see that level of production from any of those guys. The next guy on this list here, it's honestly been a very shocking offseason for me when it comes to Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, and this is a very valid points that people are bringing up with Garrett Wilson. When I've talked to people about Garrett Wilson, a lot of people have very valid points. Heading into the offseason, I didn't think that we were going to discuss Garrett Wilson as an overrated Dynasty asset. I mean, Garrett Wilson is still really, really young. And when you look at what he's done with the quarterback clown circus that he's had, it's phenomenal. 2 straight 1,000-yard plus seasons in his NFL career with that garbage at quarterback. There's not many that can do that. I'm telling you, there's not many that can do that. So Garrett Wilson, we're at the point where it's the room is split. Some of us do believe in Garrett Wilson, the talent he is. I think everyone believes in the talent. But some people do believe Garrett Wilson is overrated in Dynasty. And again, I'm very interested to hear what you think particularly. So let me know in the comments. Here's what I think about Garrett Wilson. With this uncertainty, with Garrett Wilson's proper price and stock in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and right now, like I said, I would say the room is kind of split right now on Garrett Wilson's Dynasty value. I think he's still a top 10 Dynasty wide receiver. A lot of people don't think that. I heard someone say they'd rather take Romeo Doubs over Garrett Wilson. I don't know how many people are thinking that, but if you could find someone in your league who is so disappointed in Garrett Wilson and doesn't believe in the long-term upside, this is a buy for me. Because here's what I see. With Garrett Wilson, as we enter 2024, even if we have Aaron Rodgers for 1 year, and maybe we don't even have him for a year because he'll be the vice presidential candidate for Robert F. Kennedy. I don't know. I saw that was a possibility. I don't know. But let's just say that we have Aaron Rodgers for 1 season with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, I have complete confidence in that he'll have a 1,400 plus yard season. Easily. And I'm not saying that the Jets are some stable organization that will find stability at the quarterback position after Aaron Rodgers. They put all their chips into Aaron Rodgers being their guy. So Aaron Rodgers, if he's there, Garrett Wilson, we know his production is going to be very, very good. So Garrett Wilson, to me, just based on the uncertainty, and you can map this out with whoever has them in your league, and if they already have concerns, your foot's already in the door on this negotiation process. Then from there, you just say, I'm a little unsure about him too, because he's got, Aaron Rodgers. We don't know what he's doing. We don't know if he's going to be great anymore. I don't know how to feel about this one. I'll tell you this, if people are really that worried about Garrett Wilson and they'll sell you a late first rounder for him, go get Garrett Wilson. I'd much rather have Garrett Wilson over a guy like Troy Franklin at the 107, the 106, 108. I'd much rather have Garrett Wilson over Brian Thomas Jr. That's just the way I look at this one. I believe in the player Garrett Wilson is. He's still really, really young. Garrett Wilson's a buy for me. Now, the last guy on this list right here, also a very interesting discussion this offseason. And again, none of these decisions are easy. With A.J. Brown, I had a particularly tough time deciding on what I would do personally. Now, I do not own A.J. Brown in any Dynasty league. A.J. Brown is a tough one for me to evaluate personally because I love the player A.J. Brown is. A.J. Brown, I've liked him since his Ole Miss days. I loved him as a prospect, and he's obviously been tremendous in fantasy football, especially since he went to Philadelphia. Now, with A.J. Brown, he's obviously approaching that age where it's like, still in his prime, but he's so physical, and he's such a physical playing style. It's like, how long is this going to be really good for fantasy football? A.J. Brown is entering the season at 27, and A.J. Brown is also on an offense that clearly declined at the end of 2023. I mean, that offense, there looked like it wasn't only just a production thing. It looked like there was some internal strife, whether it was with him and Jalen Hurts or whether it was a coaching thing. I don't know, but I definitely sensed some internal strife there, and maybe you did too. With A.J. Brown, I look at a player who I believe in 100%. I believe that is still, at his best, a top 6 to 7 to 5 wide receiver in fantasy football. I believe in Jalen Hurts. I believe that Jalen Hurts at his best is a great quarterback who can distribute to both him and Devonta, but A.J. Brown is the better asset. A.J. Brown, to me, with uncertainty with certain people, this is a sell type of situation for me. A.J. Brown is the type of player where it's kind of similar to the Deebo Samuel type of thing, where it's like they're both kind of getting to the age where we'd rather sell them, but specifically with A.J. Brown, tremendous player in fantasy football and a tremendous dynasty asset for your team, because if you have A.J. Brown at your wide receiver 1 position, you can feel very comfortable. And especially if he's your wide receiver 2, which is what I would want to shoot for if I was selling or if I was buying him. So A.J. Brown is the type of player where this one, like I said, took me a long time to debate in my own head. The reason I would sell this guy is because I do believe that with A.J. Brown, there's plenty of people in your league who would love to get A.J. Brown because he's a great player and he's in a good offensive situation. You take out those last couple games, and I understand we're not just going to do that, but for the most part with Philly, he's been tremendous in fantasy. A.J. Brown, I think you could get an early first rounder for. I mean, this is a player I think that you could get like a 103, 102 for in Dynasty Fantasy Football, and probably an additional player or an additional draft pick in the next year's draft. So A.J. Brown, to me, it's like I would rather just start rebuilding and sell A.J. Brown and move him off my roster, because I do believe that there is deeper instability in Philadelphia. I think it stems towards the coach being a problem, potentially being let go during the regular season in 2024. I also think there's a possibility Jalen Hurts maybe just isn't as great as he was in that Super Bowl year in 2022. I believe in Hurts personally, but I do think there's a chance that he isn't that guy anymore. So there's some instability there that I don't particularly love with A.J. Brown's situation. I would personally rather just sell him, try to rebuild, and just move on and get some elite draft capital in exchange for A.J. Brown. Now, let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know who your tough decisions are on your Dynasty team are. And make sure you stay tuned for the release of my 2024 Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, which is going to help you find the best players and the best values in your Dynasty Rookie Draft.